Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is the OTFB Football Podcast. I am Dana. Joining me, Kate. Kate, do you know that I said your name like twice last week? I'm like, and then Kate, I mean Lisa. And it's because I'm so used to saying all three of us or all four of us at a time. So yeah, so you were there in spirit last week with us. And of course, joining us also is Lisa. I had such a good time last week talking to Emery. It's always so much fun talking to him and being able to get his perspective on things, because I'm telling you guys, he just does such a deep dive on these players. I just loved it. So I hope you guys liked that too. We are 1 week away. I'm so excited. Kate and I both are going to the draft this year. I've gone by myself in the past, and it's exhausting. I don't know about you people. It's real tiring. And so I'm very excited to have Kate go along. So we are going to be able to give you full coverage of the first and second rounds of the draft. I'm so excited about that. It's going to be a good time. So Kate, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good. I can't believe it's like Major League Baseball has started, the NBA playoffs. My Cavs are in the NBA playoffs. Optional training camps and OTAs are starting. And the draft is next week. Like, I feel like it's been the shortest off season. I don't know where like February and March went.
Completely. It's bizarre to me that it just never ends. Like, I always think, we take a couple weeks off here and there, and it's like, oh, because there's not much going on. There's never not something going on anymore. It's fascinating to me, including, I call it minor league football because they changed it, XFL, UFO, whatever the hell they call it. Lisa, have you watched any of that?
No.
I know.
I haven't watched.
It's getting great ratings. Like, people are excited.
Is it really?
Yeah. I don't know.
Any of it.
Maybe we need to wander over to St. Louis and go see one of their games. I think that might be fun. Lisa, how have you been?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm gonna be in the war room. I'm ready.
I know.
Guys, so
it's gonna be so much
fun.
I know. Yeah, we couldn't do it without you for sure. All right. Tonight, you guys, we are going to talk. At first, I was like, oh, we should talk about prop bets. And then I'm like, no, because we don't really promote betting on here, although feel free, bet away. It's your and if any betting company wants to sponsor us, we'll happily take your cash. But I wanted to talk about some of the major questions. Like, these are the questions that people talk about when they're hanging out with their buddies at, the barbershop or whatever, who's going to take who, what's going to be what. And we could have done a mock draft, but everyone and their brother is doing mock drafts this week, and understandably so. But it's nothing but guessing, right? And so I wanted to dive kind of a little bit in a different direction. So tonight we are going to go through 4 or 5 questions, kind of get in depth on some of them. Some of kind of more the burning questions about the first round, really more than anything. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first question I posed to the ladies, and I did give them a heads up about these questions, so they could prepare for them a little bit, but I want to know what you think. And I'm gonna let you go second because I love your answer so very much. But Kate, I want you to go first. How many quarterbacks do you think are going to go in the first round, and to who? Because there is some question marks. There have been some hints put out there. I mean, the Commanders today had every quarterback today, all of them together in their facility. Bizarre to me. It was very interesting. So what do you think about these quarterbacks?
Yeah, and I'm the Commanders in particular I'm struggling with. Okay. I can't decide. They're picking number 2. I can't decide if they're just going to stay at 2 and take Marvin Harrison Jr. and be done. If they're inviting all these quarterbacks in to try to get someone to trade with them, they want to move down. So maybe if they look like they're interested in a quarterback, somebody will try to trade with them. I don't know. And I feel like I'm giving that organization too much credit.
Well, we don't know this organization really yet.
We don't.
Right? Yeah.
And so that's why I'm like, yeah. So I've got 4 going in the first round, depending on how crazy it gets. For sure, the Bears at 1. Mm-hmm. I think for sure the Patriots at 3 are going to take a quarterback. I think the Giants at 6 are going to get one, which I think for me, will probably be the biggest surprise for people. If the Giants stay at 6, Daniel Jones needs to be worried about his job. He needs to be worried about his job anyway, but I think they're going to get someone at 6. And the Titans at 4.
Interesting.
I've got.
So those are not the same teams I have. So I love that.
I have 4 going in the top 10. I think there's going to be a rush on them, and then everyone else is going to sit, chillax, chill, settle, and then go from there.
Interesting. So Lisa, I know your opinion. So I want to say a couple things before, because I don't disagree with you, but I want to say a couple of things. So I actually have 5 quarterbacks going in the first round for the same reason. There's some very obvious quarterback needy teams. So I have the Bears. I think the Commanders are going to take a quarterback. I have the Patriots, although they do seem to be a bit of a wild card, which is interesting to me. And then I have either Giants or the Vikings will take one of those top. And I think that that's interesting because I think that they will move up. Whoever wants one of the top 4 quarterbacks is going to have to move up. I think there's a very good chance they're going to go 1 through 4. So, which breaks my heart a little bit because you know how I feel about the quarterbacks. But I think the 5th one is going to come at the end of the first round. I think there's going to be some team that is going to jump. And I think that they are going to jump back into the first round when all of a sudden they see Penix, when they see Bo Nix still sitting there at 20, 22. I'm getting back in and I'm going to grab them. And the teams I think might be interested in that. I think the Saints are probably a really good call there to get back into the first round, possibly. And because they have 9 picks this year. And so they could package them together. I wouldn't be sorry if they threw a player in there because it's going to take a lot, I think. And once you get to that point, there's a lot of teams, I think, who are like, we're good. We'll trade right back out of the first round. So I think that that's going to be interesting. The other one I saw that was a little bit interesting that might take a late quarterback, don't kill me, are the Buccaneers. Nothing against Baker. Right? He's done fantastic. But why not? If they're sitting there at 20, what are they, 26, I think? And they're like,
yep,
let's take a flyer. Why not? This kid's not NFL ready. Neither one of them are. So why don't we go ahead and maybe, I just saying, wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be fun if I was actually right about something in the draft? Because it really happens. So anyway, I think that there could be 5. I do think someone will sneak back into the first and overdraft a quarterback, which leads me right into, Lisa, how many quarterbacks do you think should go?
1.
And how many do you think will actually go?
Okay, I think listening to you guys and how you talking, this is so 2021 to me. When Trevor Lawrence went, Zach Wilson went, Trey Lance went, Justin Fields went, Mac Jones went. This has that 2021 feel to me, to where I thought the same thing. The only one I had was Trevor Lawrence, but I did like the Bears coming up to get Justin because Justin was a wild card. I really thought Justin Fields, and I still do think so. I think the rest of the field, they could have easily dropped. Zach Wilson obviously was just, so this has the make of it because I think you're right. You have a lot of quarterback needy teams. But I think 1, 2 are going to be quarterbacks. I have no doubt. I'm pretty sure the Commanders are going to take Daniels. I can't see them passing up. Like you said, the Patriots are kind of wild card, but I do think they're going to end up with May. I think they're going to pull the trigger on that kid. So your wild card is going to be 4, 5, and 6 with the Cardinals. Cardinals have a couple picks in this first round.
I think they're going to back out of that pick. Why not?
The wild card pick to me with the Patriots is going to be McCarthy. Okay. If they take McCarthy, I think it's going to shift this whole draft because I feel that Sean Payton is just sitting there at the Denver Broncos. And when you look at where you're going to trade at, if the quarterback's off on the Giants, look at the Giants. They might pull something. Because I'm thinking if this draft falls a certain type of way where JJ drops or May drops, you might see the Broncos try to pull the trigger. If the Giants are going to stick with Daniels because they paid him all that money, then that might be a trade partner for them. Cardinals, to me, would be the spot to jump because they got a couple picks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me tell you this.
The Vikings at 11 and the Broncos at 12.
Right.
And both of those are very good fits
7?
for JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, there's gonna be some.
Those are the 2. He's going to one of those places. What I think will be interesting, and Dana and I will be there, is what did we hear? There are only 13 prospects.
13 players. I'm so pissed. Lisa, there's only 13 of them.
13. There may be no one there to talk to on day 2, or there may not going to be.
We're going to be running around like crazy.
Little buckaroo sitting there hoping someone will talk to him because everyone else is gone and he's alone in the green room waiting for round 2.
Although that was the most fun last year.
Interesting.
I had such a good time on day 2. The one player that stuck around, he was a blast. I had a great time. He sat there for 30 minutes with us. He was the best. And so leading into that, well, I want to say one thing. So however you feel about them aside, Mel Kiper and Daniel Jeremiah, they both agree on one thing about JJ McCarthy, that he should be a mid to late first round pick. They have him at 14, 15, and 20. And so I think that will be interesting to see how the teams view him versus, but if May starts to drop, there is going to be money thrown.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying. There could be a couple. You always have that one, and like you said, and a lot of these teams, they don't even listen to what we listen to. I mean, we're hearing the JJ talk like boom, boom. They're just like, so, but I mean, they have their boards. They know who they're interested. They know who they want. I mean, Peyton knows who he wants. To me, it's either McCarthy or Maine. I think, because I know he knows Daniels is probably out of reach. He knows Williams is out of reach.
Sure.
So one of those kids, and if like I said, if it's the hot kid that he really likes, I wouldn't be surprised if he try to package some deals.
So that brings us to our next question, which is, which teams do you think will move up and why? And I have Minnesota, the Giants.
No, that's not that. You missed.
I know, but we're already talking about moving up. We're going to talk about number 2 here in a minute.
Man, I'm in 40. You just messed me up. Now I got to switch papers.
At least it has a system. So the thing of it is, because we've already been talking about it. So we have that where we think that there's a couple of teams for sure that will move up if the quarterback they want is sitting there. And I think we all agree that's Minnesota and New York, right? Like we see that. The Broncos is definitely a wild card, although they have a lot of needs. So maybe they sit tight and see if either Penix or Nix, slides, and then they'll see what they can do. It's going to be busy. Are there any other teams where you guys might see moving up for a player, Kate?
It's hard because I didn't see the Cardinals moving twice last year. And
right?
You know what I mean? You've got a couple teams with brand new coaches and brand new systems and offices and stuff. The Commanders are already at 2. The Raiders sitting at 13 are interesting to me to either move up or move down. I feel like they're going to want to do something to show the new people are the smartest people in the room, whether they are or not. They're going to want to do something. That's, as I look at the list, I can almost 99.9% guarantee you that my Browns will not be moving back up into the first round. There are a number of teams who don't have a first round pick, and they're perfectly happy with that.
Yeah.
They're not willing to give up the capital they would need to get. Because again, if this looks like 21, and if there's this run on quarterbacks and people are making, crazy demands for trades and teams are giving it to them, these other people are just going to sit back.
They are.
The
and
Raiders,
that's the smart thing. The Raiders are a really good question, and we're going to talk about teams who might move back too, because there's a handful of them. But one I was thinking of, Lisa, is what about the Colts? Let's think about this for a minute. They need a wide receiver. I mean,
I was going to say that. I was going to bring that up to Emery. I mean, wouldn't everybody just if they made the move with Arizona to go up that high and take Marvin Harris Jr., to me, that's going to set the draft ablaze. There's where you're going to see
the only spot they could move to. Because
exactly.
Arizona has 2 first round picks. And so they would swap first rounders and give them something else. They're not getting into 1, 2, or 3.
But they're
not going to pay what they would have to pay, because 1, 2, and 3 want quarterbacks. Arizona may want a quarterback, but they may value that trade and getting one at 15 more than taking one at 4.
Jim Harbaugh. Nobody knows about Jim.
That's what I'm saying. Jim Harbaugh might be like,
Jim.
I want to see
who's in money problems up there. Where's Arizona like with caps? I mean, what could they value of moving out of 10? Out of 10, out of that top 10 and that money mark, that money thing right there.
Well, you got
Jets does have a soft spot for the Colts.
Yeah, there's a lot of question marks there. I think that where last year I didn't think there'd be a ton of movement, and then Arizona proved us all wrong. I feel like there's going to be a ton of movement in the first round this year, because there are so many top tier. I don't know about the top tier quarterbacks, but there's quarterbacks with potential. And then you have
I mean, you don't take a quarterback with potential in 1, do you?
Well, obviously they do.
Hello. Some teams do, but now we're bleeding into the who's going to move down question.
Right.
Which I think is where the Chargers are.
So
I have no doubt Seattle's moving down. Absolutely no doubt. Okay. Seattle has
we aren't to that question yet. We're still finishing.
I thought we were going.
No,
we were skipping.
Listen to me.
We're going back to number. Are we going back to number 2?
Listen.
No,
to me.
Put that paper away.
I lose control every week. I don't even know why I put these 2 on. So, if you look at the teams that might move around, Arizona obviously is an obvious one, and yet at the same time, if they could double dip and right there together, that would be huge for them. Mm-hmm. But there's so many top tier wide receivers, and then all the offensive linemen, and so it's really going to come down to who needs those players the most and who do they value the most, as we talked about last week with Emory. Just because we really like Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't mean that some other team doesn't like the other, 2 fantastic wide receivers, or the other 5 fantastic wide receivers. Or maybe someone wants to jump ahead for Bowers. Or hell, we're going in for Cooper DeJean. You know what I mean? And so it just kind of depends on where they're at. That's the fun of the draft. That's what we love about it. All right. Now let's go ahead and talk about teams that might move out. I'm going to give you one answer. The entire NFC West. The entire NFC West. The Rams haven't had a first-round pick since they drafted Jared Goff. I still wouldn't be surprised if he turned those into more picks in the second round. That nothing would surprise me. Then you have San Francisco sitting at the bottom. So how easy would that if someone wants to move back in for one of those quarterbacks? You have Seattle. John Snyder is known for trading out of the first round. And if the 1 or 2 players that he really wants isn't there and they don't have a second round pick, I can see him flipping that. Maybe flipping back with one of those other teams. In my mock drafts, Kansas City offers a lot to move up quite regularly because they want the wide receiver, right? And so I am like, okay, I can totally see them doing that. And so, and then Arizona with all those picks, they have 2 picks in the first round. So why not move one of them back? So I am telling you, the entire NFC West is up for grabs for moving back. Kate, who else do you think might move back?
So I think the Chargers
completely.
I think the Chargers, especially at 5, what they can get, depending on who goes 1, 2, 3, 4, what they could get teams to give them, I think would very easily motivate them to move back. The Bears at 9, and again, the Cardinals, they both have 2 picks, but the Bears at 9, they're going to get their guy at 1. They should get an offensive tackle at 9. But that's not what they're going to do. And we'll talk about what I think they're going to do later.
Okay.
But they may move down or trade out of one altogether. The Jets, I think, from a money standpoint, would love to not have to pay somebody top 15 money.
That's probably
true. I was looking at the top. I figured they're the most motivated. And other teams will be motivated to want their spot. Right.
So, really, if you look in that top 10, absolutely. I completely agree. That's true. Yeah. Lisa, what about you? Moving out.
I don't see. I kind of I'm on the fence with you guys. I don't think you're going to see a lot of movement for the first couple rounds down. I think we're going to see movement down at the latter part of the first round of going down. Maybe
I agree.
I think with the players and the offensive and the defensive players and stuff, and if everything kind of falls the way I kind of think it should, I don't think we're going to see a lot of movement up and down or down from those picks. I think the teams know who they want. This is a really strong class for some real top tier first day players all the way up almost till 20. So
but if you look in middle of the round, Lisa, you've got teams like Cincinnati and Jacksonville sitting there at 17, 18. They clearly don't need a quarterback. Pittsburgh's in there too. They don't need a quarterback now. If somebody starts to fall, they may not go into the draft thinking we're going to move out of this. But if somebody comes to them with an offer at that point, they might be like, you know what? Our guy will still be there either at the end of the first or in the second.
Yeah.
Because I feel like those kind of teams, those 3 in particular, it's going to depend on what falls, on how desperate somebody is to grab.
It's true.
See, the thing is, I have so many top tier players all the way almost until the second round that it's just saturated to where I think you could still get a great player and not have to make any movement. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we see none.
Yeah. Pittsburgh to me is the kind of organization that'll just take best player on the board.
Yep.
I'm picking 20. Don't come to me with an offer. Best player on the board. I feel like Jacksonville and Cincy they're both looking for that spark to get where they need to get. And if there's not one guy they have their mind on, they may package that for more picks to get more second or third round talent and some depth.
And there could be 2 or 3 players too that still might be there, and they know that. Yeah. So, I mean,
or someone comparable, because like we've said, there's so much, it's so close. So Kristen has a good comment. She's like, it seems there are always way more teams trying to trade down than teams that want to move up. And it's so true, to the point that then the price kind of starts to get, you know, well, no, all we really want is 2 picks for this first round pick. You know what I mean? And so that'll be interesting to see what happens there. All right. I want to tell all you guys, if you're watching over on Twitter or if you're watching over on Facebook, come over and join us on YouTube. You can join our live chat and you can ask us questions and you can join the chat just like our fellow chatties have been. All right. So let's go back to question number 2 so Lisa can calm down. So question number 2, I had
to do homework on this.
I know. Care about defensive players.
If I have a cheat sheet, the questions have to be in the same answer as where I wrote the answers on my arm.
I love it. Yes. Oh, God, love Camden. Camden, we've missed you the last couple of weeks. Camden says, like the video. Yes, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe, please. That would be fantastic. So this is, to Lisa's joy, an offensive heavy first round. It's all about the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and the offensive tackles, right? And the offensive guards. I mean, it's all about the offense, which Lisa's thrilled about. But there are some chef's kiss defensive players that are out there this year. So I want to know from you guys, who is the first defensive player that is going to go off the board, and where do you think that they will end up? Lisa,
just let me get my question. Girl, I have the first defensive player. I have Dallas Turner going to the Falcons.
Damn it! I have Dallas Turner going to the Bears.
But what about the Titans, though? The Titans could be, the Titans, but like you said, new coach, and we don't know what the hell's going to go on with Henry. We don't know. So he's the best player on the board to me. And the Falcons, man, they need some.
I love that you and I have both of us picked an edge rusher as the first defensive player, and we picked the same one.
I love it.
He is the best defensive player on the board.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Titans and the Falcons are the first teams I have that might take a defensive player.
Right. Why wouldn't they? I mean, desperate, right? Needed at this point. Although I want to talk, when we're done with our questions, I want to talk just a little bit about the Vikings and the Falcons. But so really, you look at these players, right? So you have Turner, who's an edge rusher from Alabama. You got the Alabama boys, right? So you got Turner, the edge rusher, and Arnold, the cornerback, right? Both very high, ranked very high. Then you have Latu, who you see mocked a lot, around like 10 to 12, like right in that there, the edge rusher out of UCLA. And then you have Mitchell and Murphy. Right. So you have Mitchell, he's the cornerback from Toledo, Murphy, the defensive tackle from Texas, who are getting a lot of hype the last week or two. Right. And so really what you get in that is you see, where does the team need, right? Where is that? And so when I will use Seattle as an example, because those Hawk Blogger boys make me do a million mock drafts with them all the time. So you look at Seattle, and really, they need offensive line and they need some help on the defensive line. Who do they go? Who's more important to them? Where are they sitting at? And so that's going to, determine that. They need an edge rusher, but they also need, middle of the line. It's a whole thing. Anyway, and so, but there are some cornerback needy teams out there, right? And so out of nowhere, Mitchell and Arnold look really good to them. So I think, Lisa, you're absolutely right. I think that it is going to be right in there, 7, 8, 9, maybe even the Jets, and looking and seeing kind of where they go and what they're going to do. But I think the number of defensive players is going to be pretty small. in that first round, because like we have already said, there's so much talent at those other positions, right? And what did Schefter say today? That there's a record for how many offensive players gone in the first round, and he thinks it'll be shattered this year. So that'll be really interesting.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. Because like I said, and what we just talked about, like what Kate said too, what we were talking about, that's going to leave a defensive-minded second round, baby. Right? We're going to start seeing them come off the board that second round. It's going to be. So you might see a lot of movement there then.
Camden in chat just said she thought it was 19. So yeah, love that. All right. So let's talk about surprises. So really, when you look at this, there's always at least one or two surprises that pop up kind of out of nowhere in the draft, right? Either players that get picked that were like, mocked in the second or third round, but someone just had to have them, or they heard a rumor so-and-so was going to take them, so they did that. Or teams that just bail out, or someone bets the farm on one guy in the top 5 and gives them everything they want. 5 first round picks, whatever it may be. Obviously, I'm exaggerating. What kind of surprises are you guys expecting? Or is there just so much talent that you literally have the pick of the litter? Kate, I'm going to start with you.
I really think best player on the board is going to be a thing. Like there is, especially when it comes to offensive line. There's a lot of unsexy talent in this draft, as we call it.
God love the big boys.
I do. I love me the big boys. So I was looking at the teams that don't even have a first round pick, and I honestly I don't see one that I think is going to move back up to the round. It's more, the Chargers at 5 to me is where there could be a surprise. Either they move completely out. Do they prove Lisa and I wrong? Do they grab Dallas Turner? They need another edge rusher. Joey Bosa has been hurt so much. Do they want a wide receiver? Does Jim Harbaugh steal Marvin Harrison from the Colts? Like, whatever the Chargers do at 5 is going to be something that we're going to probably be talking about the week after. And so they're like I call them my bubble team. They're the team them and the Raiders. Those two teams are like the ones where I'm most interested to see what they do. But I think everything else is really going to be. It's part of why when we talked about what we were going to do tonight, and I said mock draft, and you're like, no, everyone's doing a mock draft. I'm like, good, because I don't think it's. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that difficult. I don't think there are going to be that many surprises. I don't think JJ McCarthy's going to, or any of that wild and crazy stuff. I think things are going to go pretty well. It's the teams the couple teams that I'm going to keep an eye on that I'm
So Camden has a question in chat. Does Evil Harbaugh trade Bosa? That's a really good question for extra picks.
We didn't talk about like
not
player
if he's
trades.
healthy. Not if he's healthy. If he tries to trade him, I'd be wondering what his medicals look like.
Yeah, agreed. So here's the interesting thing to me, Lisa, about kind of piggybacking off what Kate said. So you have the Chargers. So we have this whole handful of new head coaches, right? And a handful of new GMs too. So it'll be interesting to me. We kind of know Evil Harbaugh, right? Jim Harbaugh, that's his nickname. For those of you who might be new, I call him Evil Harbaugh. And good Harbaugh is John. But Evil Harbaugh we kind of know his MO, right? He's been in the league before. We kind of know how he is, although very different now. Oops, I lost my earpiece. Sorry. Aww. So, and so, things definitely could be different. He spent all this time in college. Huge advantage for him. He knows those college players backward and forward, right? He played most.
Yes, he does.
And so that'll be real interesting to see what he does. But Pierce, he is a wild card, right? For the Raiders. We have no idea what he's going to do, just like a handful of these other coaches. So do you think that we'll get a surprise out of the new coach? Do you think, is it going to be Gerard Mayo that just blows the place? Like it's kind of exciting.
No, I've been watching Jim Irsay's tweets lately, and he's crazy. He is crazy, and I think he's older and crazy, and so I mean, that would not surprise me if they just package something and move up and get Harrison Jr. just because Daddy played on his team. He's that back crazy right now. I mean, he is. I mean, he had nothing to lose.
He is, but the reality is, how many players are in the league now that are still on the team that drafted him? He can go somewhere and do 3 years on a rookie deal, and for the option year, he can go to Indy. Like, he can get to Indy. There was a time where if you wanted him, you had to draft him.
Right. Now it's that 5-year kind of fourth. But I mean, he's crazy. I mean, I can see him pulling some.
I have to do this. Camden, Jim is right. He's the WWE owner of the NFL. God, Camden, I've missed you. All right. That is so true. So
it's
funny.
Truth, right?
It is interesting. So all of you guys that are watching over on YouTube, I want you guys to put in the comments if you would like what surprise you think will happen, because then we will share them. That's lots of fun. I know there's a ton of you watching over on Twitter too. Please come to YouTube and give us your thoughts. It's going to be just a good time. But I think that that's going to be really, there will be a surprise or two, and it'll make Daniel Jeremiah go, oh boy, like he always does. He always gets so excited. Him and Rich Eisen. So I love that. That's just a lot of fun for me. Okay.
Yeah, but is he still with? Didn't he get fired? Is he gone? Daryl Jeremiah gone?
No. Huh? Really?
Oh,
not.
He's not drafting like there were a lot of people coming and going.
Yeah.
So I have not. I've seen some mock drafts, but I haven't. But I mean, have you guys seen mock drafts lately? I know, Kate. Have you done? What's the Chargers? What is the field for the Chargers? Defense, offense? What?
Offense. Okay. Tight end or edge rusher or wide receiver. Like
everyone's in on Bowers right now. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering what the most mocks had Jim doing.
So the newest
one. We talked about which teams we thought were going to take quarterbacks in round one, but we didn't name names. Which four quarterbacks do you think do we agree that the top four that everyone's predicting are the top four are going to be the four that go in the first round?
Yeah. The only shocker to me would be Spencer Rattler. He's your wild card.
I think he'll be third or fourth round. I do.
I think he's going boom, boom, boom. Yeah. I mean, that'd be the only reach. That's the only reach that I would be like, well, what? You know? So my question to personally for me is I want to see where Bo Nix is going, because I have Spencer Rattler ahead of him. I watched him at the senior. Rattler was 3 times better than Nix. So
interesting. You're not the only one who's
combine. He looked good at the combine.
He sure did. He looked a lot better than Nix did. I'll tell you that right now.
Yep.
So Kristen's surprise would be big surprise if the Seahawks get a first round offensive lineman. Kristen, don't be mad at me, but if they take an offensive lineman over one of the really
Bowers
good defensive, the defensive players like Burst or some, I'm gonna be like, argh. I know they need one, but you know where my heart lies. My heart lies in the defense. So I don't know.
There are really good ones that'll be there in the second round.
Yeah, not in the defense.
No, offensive lineman.
Yes, exactly.
You can get one later.
The hitman. What's your hitman coach going to do? What's the hitman going to do? But he does. Pete never had any kind of say, right? That was more Snyder's deal, right?
I mean, Pete and Snyder did it together, but I don't know. You guys know. I have said I'm just so blasé on this new coaching staff. Everyone's so excited, and I'm like, prove it.
Have we figured out a nickname for him yet?
Well, I came up with and got yelled at, so I can't use that one anymore.
Okay.
Seahawks fans were not a fan. Yeah, he's something. I don't know. All right. So interestingly enough, I do want to talk about something. There was a point that was brought up today on NFL Network, because when I drive in my car, that's all I listen to. Sorry, just what it is. And it was interesting. They were mad. The two guys were really irritated about the Vikings, and everyone's talking about how they're going to move up. They're going to get a quarterback. Why the hell they got rid of Kirk Cousins when they could have just signed him for a 2-year deal. And then they turned around, but then the Falcons probably could have had a better chance of getting a better quarterback. It was so interesting. So with all the kind of moves, I mean, we look at Pittsburgh picking up Russ and Justin Fields. Why not just throw it against the wall, see what sticks? You have Kirk Cousins going, you have, Sam Howell coming to Seattle. There's all of these quarterbacks. Is there a move in this offseason that just kind of perplexed you? Because I will say it doesn't make a ton of sense to me that the Vikings got rid of Kirk Cousins. I know we call him beige and we make fun of him, but you know what? He's so consistent. Are you going to get that? Or are they just sick of it and they wanted something new? I don't know. It was interesting to me.
They've come to the conclusion that we have. Yes, that consistency is nice, but you're not going to get to the next level. If that means you start over, you start over. The thing that perplexed me, you already mentioned, is Justin Fields.
Yeah.
I don't understand. You got Russell. If you'd gotten Justin first, then Russell would have perplexed me. I'm like, I don't know why you need both.
Mike's I want them all. Just give them all to me. I'm good.
I loved that move.
Did you? Why?
I did, because I think it's a 1-2, and you secured your player now, your little bridge player to bring him along, and he's your franchise. So you're gonna bet money that Russell's gonna be there this year.
1 to 2.
And you're gonna bring Fields along. I mean, that was the talk of when Russell came there was, all right, now if you're a Steelers fan and you're going to do this thing right, you draft a young quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You go and get one of those young quarterbacks to be on. So I love the move. I think it's a 1-2 punch for them. I think they're thinking long-term with Fields, and who better to learn under than your Super Bowl champion quarterback.
Yeah, you love the Russ. I know you do.
All
right, good question from Dr. Life Coach. Let's say, wrong one. This one. So is the 4th or 5th round is where the draft drops off. I will tell you, not according to Emory Hunt. He thinks, what did he say last week, Lisa? It was so fantastic. And I repeated it later on a different podcast. He said, this is the draft where you're going to have those handful of blue chip players, but this is what he called the lunch pail draft. He said that these are your lunch pail guys. These are the guys that are come in and going to make your team work. They're not the superstars, but they're consistent. They're good. They're depth. And so he said that if you look at the draft this way, you are building the thickness of your team from this draft. And I loved that. So then I took his draft guide and I went and looked through some things. I did go look up all the guys he told me to that I was writing furiously down.
I saw you writing.
Week. I was writing them all down. And I think that this is really going to be a draft for the trenches. I think it's going to be very good. So it's a lot of splash in the first round. And then maybe after that, not so much. But that doesn't mean the players won't be splashy later. I think it's going to be really interesting to look at this class, the full class, in about 2 to 3 years and see what kind of impact they've had. Kate, what are your feelings overall? Because I will let everyone know who's watching. So we are not going to do a Tuesday show next week because we will be live from the draft Thursday and Friday. And so we are going to be all there and being able to do some coverage there. And so that'll be really exciting. And so we will be skipping next Tuesday, but we will be live Thursday and Friday all day. So what is your overall impression, Kate, with this draft?
I think the most exciting will be the first round for the casual football fan. For me, and I think people like us, I'm interested in 2 through 7. I think there's a lot of depth. I think one of the things that I talked about with the guys at the Combine this year a lot, and that they were all very well aware of, was the number of injuries in the NFL this year and how depth mattered and how many guys were playing in week 16, 17 that were 3rd and 4th string when the season started, and they got their chance to play. So I think, you've got lots of talent this year in those unsexy positions. And you've also still got the Brock Purdy example of Mr. Irrelevant, very last guy taken in the draft, and look at what he's doing. And so I think casual people will be bored, people who don't watch college ball and see as much as we do. I watch a lot of MAC football. I watch a lot of Big Ten. So there's a lot of players. That guy out of Toledo, Mitchell, I'm super excited to see where he ends up. There's just a lot of players. I think there's still going to be very good talent in 5, 6, and 7 this year.
Agreed. Could be interesting. Lisa, what about you?
Well, I'm taking off Emory. I'm going deep into the draft because I think with the new rule changes, with the special teams and the kickoffs, I think you're going to see a lot of these guys later these rounds in the like he talked about that are going to be blue collar players, and they're going to make teams off of they're going to make teams. They're going to make these rosters because of special teams,
right?
Several of them, and that's how a lot of them get on. And they tell you when you kind of always look at the old schools, it's like, okay, we go from 4, 5, 6, 7 round. Those are going to be the players that are going to try to make the team on special teams. That's a lot of times what you do. Right. But this draft, you got so many great prospects at that. And like I said, I think the new rule change there is going to bring a little bit more of a heightened thing. I'm with you guys. 2nd and 3rd round is going to be real great for us. I think it's going to be real exciting, especially might not be so sexy for people at home, but when you see those names come off the board, we're going to be like, wow. wow,
Yeah.
I had him in 4 and everybody went, went and got him, because I think they're going to rely on watching these kids' talent, and somebody's going to want some of these kids in that 3rd, 4th round.
Oh, for sure. For sure. All right. So Dr. Lifecoach has a question for us to round out the evening. What kind of fan are you when your team is picking the draft? I will go ahead and start. So, Mr. Doctor, I try very hard, especially you're sitting there in the media room. I try to be like, oh, okay, good for that team. Good for that team. And then Seattle comes on and I get real quiet and I hide behind my computer. And then I just get either real happy. But I will tell you what I have learned over the last couple of years. When Seattle picks, I pay attention to the room. What is the reaction of, because it gets real loud and there are people, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of reaction from the reporters, because it's not like you're in the press box and have to be quiet like when you're at a game, so you can be loud, right? And so I think that I listen, and I will tell you my biggest surprise was when Seattle drafted Ken Walker. And online people are like, a running back, God, not again, blah, blah, blah. The room around me exploded. And the people I was sitting next, there was a whole group of Sports Illustrated guys that were sitting by me. And they were like, Seattle just got the best running back in the draft. That's amazing. That's going to make your team totally different. So it's interesting to see the different perspectives when that happens. Kate, what about you? What kind of fan are you?
So I try to be super Patty positive, and I tweet out all the good things about him. And then I say to everyone who will listen to me, don't fall in love with them, because 2 of the guys that we draft over this 4-day period will actually make the team.
Yeah, that's fair. No, it's true. Yeah.
Fall in love with them. Don't freak out about it. Don't get enamored with it. They're doing what they're doing. Let them don't. I'm very critical of their first pick. And luckily we haven't had to deal with that since they drafted Baker Mayfield, my Browns. So I haven't had like a 1st round pick. I don't think I've had one since then. But yeah, I tend to think that first one for me sets the tone of what they're going to do. So if I love it, I believe that we'll be fine for the rest of the picks. And if I hate it, then I have to keep an eye on all of them.
Lisa?
I tell you, I do not get starstruck. I for this last couple years of doing this, what we do, I relatively just kind of take it in. I also rely on a lot of other guys. I watch their reactions to it, and some hate it, some like it. And some, it's been a little different than what, people think. Cause a lot of times they'll say, oh, that's crazy. What? Really, some of the reporters that people don't realize, they'll be, they're not on camera yet. They're watching like we are, but they're totally, still invested in the teams, because a lot of these guys write for these teams for years. So you can't tell me you're not invested when you go, oh, seriously? I've seen it.
Oh yeah.
Did you see Camden's comment?
Which one?
I'm the fan who gets mad about the value of a draft. I listen to people all the time. That was a reach. You're going to spend too much money. And I'm like, it's not your money. It's not my money. If you want to spend that much money. When we're talking about rookie deals, it is so structured. It's really not that big a difference. If you get a guy late 1st round or 2nd round, if he's the guy you want, when
it's
you
really
look at
those
the
top
whole
picks
salary cap, it's not that big a difference.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. Let me tell my one draft story here real quick of fans. Cause I did, when I was covering the Dolphins down the draft, I loved being with the people and the fans, because like you said, guys, we get that reaction. But my favorite one was I think it was like I was on my honeymoon. I was in New York because I eloped to Niagara Falls. So the funniest thing was, and of course, I got married during the draft. So we went to a bar in Buffalo the night of the draft. It was the night they took Emmanuel first from Florida State. When I tell you, I have never heard a bar. It was like, they're banging. They're like getting ready to jump a table. They're getting ready. But when they said Emmanuel's name from Florida State, the quarterback, nobody knew who he was. Absolutely nobody in the whole bar. And so I was just sitting there and I hear the guy go, who? And I said, oh, that's Florida State's quarterback. He definitely wasn't rated top 1, but it was the best thing I've ever happened to me, was watching those fans go. They had no idea who he was.
That's my Bruce Irvin moment.
Absolutely none. Yep. They had absolutely no idea who he was.
the hell is Bruce Irvin? What? Go look that up. God,
Right?
love him. One of my favorite now. But yeah, I didn't know him at the time. It was so true. It's so true. Yeah, we have a couple more questions if you guys don't mind. Each, let's see. Which team in each of your divisions are you most afraid will have a good draft? Camden then turned around and said, I'm afraid the Rams will have a good draft. Camden, that's because the Rams don't normally have a first round pick. We're not used to it. So I do agree with you. I'm a little worried about that. They got to replace a very big figure on their team though. So,
Kate's either the Ravens or the Steelers.
I was just in there going either the Ravens or the Steelers, and then I realized it doesn't matter.
It doesn't.
In my division, it doesn't matter how good or bad their draft is because those players may not ever see the field. Like,
right.
The teams that I'm dealing with in the AFC North are just so good top to bottom on their rosters.
Yeah.
Maybe Cincinnati having a good draft and shoring up a couple spots moves them ahead of Pittsburgh and Baltimore decisively. But my division is just a hot contested mess of good talent. And so we're in trouble.
Lisa, you said the Jets. I agree with you.
I do. I just don't want them to have a good draft.
I know somebody was asking about punt returners.
Oh, yeah. The top punt. Yeah.
And I will say Xavier Worthy's getting a lot of talk because he set the 40-yard dash record. But I will also tell you, having met and spoken to him in person, he's a $165 soaking wet. When he puts on those 20 pounds that he's going to put on between age 21 and 23, it's going to slow him down. Malik Washington is huge and fast. Yeah. And his footwork, any team that gets a hold of him, he will absolutely be starting special teams week 1.
Yeah.
And one other thing too, as we end this show, that Emery said was very important. After the draft, there's going to be a lot of players that aren't going to get drafted.
Undrafted free agents.
Undrafted free agent frenzy. I personally love that part myself because these teams go after these players now. I mean, it's hardcore stuff.
Yeah, we should do that for the show. The next show after the draft is get a list of each of us come up with like 3 UDFAs that we think are going to get snapped up somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a really good. Yeah, well, it'll happen the day after the draft. It happens Sunday, so we'll talk about who it is.
Amazing. It's almost like its own draft again because it's like they go after these players because they know who they want. They know who they want to go after and bring into camp.
Oh yeah, they do. And the interesting thing is, and I think Emery's the one who told me this a couple of years ago, it's the undrafted free agents actually have a better bargaining chip because they get to pick their team. Whoever wants them, they get to pick their team.
They get wine and dined, and I love that. It's like, and they high five each other. I saw it when I was down covering the Dolphins draft. The next day was actually
Sunday's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I mean, they're high fiving when that player says, "Yeah, we'll come to Miami." It's crazy.
But we're the ones, not everyone gets to see that. We're lucky we get to see that. So, all right, everyone. Well, that's going to be our show for tonight. Thanks for sticking with us. I know we went a little long. Yes, we always do. It's supposed to be a 30-minute show. Did you know that? It's never a 30-minute show. Never
Maybe
is.
we would have done the questions in order.
Oh, I know. I screwed it all up.
Man, she threw me. She threw me. I had my defense already.
Once again, we are here every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific time. You can watch us on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, but we do love it when you come over to YouTube, chat with us in the chat, and give us your questions, and we will answer them. And if you have opinions, we love those too. Throw them up there. And so we appreciate that so very much. Like and subscribe if you don't mind. We would really appreciate that also. Now, once again, we will not be here next Tuesday because we will have a lot of live draft coverage because we will have multiple people in different places that we can kind of cover. And so therefore, we'll be here Thursday and Friday. So we will see you guys all next week. Thanks, everybody.